So, God, we've known each other a long time now, right? Like
A long time.
almost
It's
20 years. I think?
yeah, at least,
So,
and it's kind of fun.
and
It's been fun.
It's interesting. So that other day when we did our event, you were telling a story even after all those years that I hadn't heard yet about coming to New Jersey.
Oh yeah,
And another guest I had on was Dr. Wazo,
yeah,
who's family immigrated from Mexico, became the first doctor in the family.
yeah.
And after all these years, you were telling a story about coming here.
Yeah.
So let's run back through that. Like,
Oh yeah, sure. Let's go through that. That's it's funny. I was telling someone else a story not too long ago too, and they said, "Well, wait a minute. You came to New Jersey?" I'm like, "Yeah." One of the things that's really interesting is people forget the point of entry for a lot of folks was New York. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And the point of entry really was LaGuardia Airport.
yeah, not
right?
Ellis Island.
And no,
right?
not Ellis Island. And then it was Kennedy, right? Kennedy Airport
Right.
or LaGuardia.
Right.
And since then those have changed. LaGuardia is still LaGuardia, but it's no longer Kennedy. I don't think it is, at least. But my father came to this country to basically study and earn some money.
Right.
So he could send money back to India for, of all things, the advancement of their agricultural business.
Right.
So here's the thing, Tim. My father's family, and I talk about my father's family, not my mom's family, because traditionally in those countries, it was always the son or the father of the household that provided for the family. So it's whatever your father's family did is kind of what you were going to do, not what your mother's family did.
Right. Okay.
So, because my mother married into my dad's family, right?
Okay.
So, my father's family was in tobacco farming.
Right.
And at that time in India, tobacco farming was actually big business, along with wheat and rice and all those things.
Right.
But tobacco was a real pastime. If you imagine, alcohol was not big then.
Right.
For religious reasons, alcohol was not a big industry.
Right.
However, tobacco was.
Right.
And since India was under British rule, they smoked those long cigarettes, right? They were into those long cigarettes. But they also smoked those small little cigarettes that were called beedies, B-E-D-I, beedies. And those were Indian cigarettes, unfiltered, basically just crushed tobacco wrapped in a leaf.
Right.
That's all it was.
Right.
And
About as basic
it was
as
a
you
poor
can get,
man's-
right?
Yeah, it was a poor man's cigarette, basically. And that's what my grandfather and his brothers did, and that's what his father did.
Oh, okay.
So it was 3 generations
Right.
of tobacco business.
Right.
Started fairly small and then grew fairly large. So, but they were still doing farming with an ox and a plow.
Right.
That's how agriculture was being done. And this is in the late 50s and 60s.
Okay.
All right, so if you had a tractor, you were
high
you were
end,
big.
right?
You were big, right?
Bougie.
Right. Yeah. You were bougie, right. And so, and by the way, this is also when we had there were Clydesdales in India. You see these horses; they were still big horses. So it was ox and Clydesdales.
Right. Okay. Something big enough to pull the plow.
Yep, that's exactly right. But the Clydesdales were not as pretty as the ones that you see on the Anheuser-Busch commercial. Far from it. They were just big. And so my father's job was to go to school. My father had finished law school in India. So he came here to basically, again, go to law school.
Okay.
Didn't quite get in the first time, but he went to school at a place called Stevens College. And it was a technical college in Hoboken, New Jersey.
So
Okay.
that's how you end up in Hoboken.
That's exactly right. That's how. So my father came to New York City, got an apartment with 5 other guys, a 1-bedroom apartment with 5 guys, and they shared sleeping times. So 3 would sleep in the morning, 3 would sleep at night.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that's how they did
Rotating
it. That's how they did it. And my father was given $10 when he left the country of India.
Wow.
That's what he had, $10.
$10 showed up.
But $10 went a long way.
Right.
I mean, it really did. It really went a long way.
Right.
He would tell me a slice of apple pie and cheese, cheddar cheese, because cheddar cheese and apple pie go hand in hand in New York City at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Still people that eat that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that was a 10-cent treat for them.
Oh, wow. Oh,
10 cents.
Right.
Got them a slice of apple pie and a cheddar cheese. That was a great deal. Yeah. So the story is my father came He went to Stevens College, roomed with 5 other guys, had $10 in his pocket,
Yeah. It's crazy.
got a job, basically bookkeeping
Okay.
in New York City. And basically what they would do is they would take the bus from Hoboken, go into the city, walk the rest of it to work, and then basically would work during the day, come home, and then sleep at night. So my father's duty was to wash the veggies and to prepare the veggies to eat for his crew.
Right.
and then they would basically prepare for the next crew to eat, and that's how they did it. And it was great. It was such harmonious living for them, but they made it work.
Right.
So after my father started making some money, and some of the money that he was making was, I think, $15 a week to maybe 20,
Right.
and he would peel off $10 a week, so $40 a month, and he would send that money to India.
Oh, okay.
$40 a month.
Right.
After about a year, that $480 got to be a decent amount of money where they can buy their first tractor.
Ah.
And that was a Massey Ferguson
Nice.
tractor. And that's what they bought. So the business basically flourished after 2 years of my father being here. He was able to get the family money enough to get a tractor.
Right.
And so they went away from the ox and the horses to the tractor, and they were able to plow basically
Right.
instead of 1 or 2 acres in a day, they were able to do 10.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Kind of just-
Exponentially
yeah.
increase. Right.
And so now, and they were able to buy more land because they were able to turn over more tobacco.
Right. But it had to be a big win over the competition too, right?
Oh, without a doubt.
yeah. So
Without a
everybody
doubt.
else is still using horses and
Correct.
oxen.
And don't forget, the family's still living in villages. There's literally villages, not cities, villages.
Right.
So you're farming in a village, and you drive, say, well, you don't drive, you walk
Right.
like a mile or so outside of the village, and that's where all your farmland is.
Right. Okay.
Right? And then right next to where your farm is, basically, they built basically a house where it's not literally a house, but it's more like an office where you would go to do the business and stay there during the day. And then the hired help would be there,
Right.
and they would basically build adobe huts to live in, and those were the farm workers.
Wow.
So the farm workers would live there and protect the land,
Right.
and then you would go there during the day and can start conducting business where the guys who were going to buy the tobacco from you, that's where they would meet you.
Oh, at your
They wouldn't
little-
come at your house. They would come to this farmland so they could see and taste the tobacco and smell the tobacco.
Right. Okay.
Well, the problem is that, how do you refine the tobacco? You have to crush the leaves, right?
Right.
But where do you store it?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you have to find a place to store it. Well, they would store it out in the open and then put the big burlap sacks over it. So they would weave the burlap sacks so the wind doesn't blow the dried tobacco away.
Right.
Well, that only lasted a little while before they realized, like, we have to build an actual structure
Right.
to put this tobacco in. So a warehouse,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't have metal, so everything was made out of blocks.
Oh, geez.
So basically, they used blocks to build these, what they called go downs, but they were warehouses.
Right.
And that's where they would store the tobacco.
Oh.
But interestingly, so how do you think the tobacco got crushed? By feet.
Oh, wow.
So the farm workers that would basically, they would
Might
pick
add
the
some different
leaves.
flavors to
Right,
your
right.
tobacco.
So guess who crushed them? Were the wives and the children of the farm workers.
Oh.
That was their job.
Right. Okay. So dry it and then crush
That's
it.
exactly right. So the men went out, basically cultivated the land, planted the tobacco. When the season came around, they took the tobacco leaves, dried them, and then the women and children would crush them.
Oh, all right.
Okay?
The true family business.
That's exactly right. So the women and children would then crush them, and then they would store them. That's how it worked. But remember, tobacco is seasonal.
Right.
So in the off season, that little makeshift village that they built would be empty because they would travel and work on another farm that had other crop.
Oh, okay.
Right?
So, true migrant farm.
True migrant farmers.
Right. Okay.
So it's kind of cool. Like, that's the way it all started.
Right.
Right? So my father came here, did that, but the problem is that my father liked it here.
Oh, okay.
Okay? He ended up liking it here.
Right.
So
So it was
when
a
he went back-
short-term plan.
Yes,
I'm only
it
going to
was
go
a
for a few
short-term plan.
years, make some money, and come home.
That's exactly right.
But
He ended up basically loving it here.
Right.
And he basically went back, and he and my mom had already been kind of seeing each other, and they were not an arranged marriage, which is unusual for India at the time.
right, yeah.
So when he went back, he and my mom decided they were going to get married, and they had my brother in 1961.
Okay.
Okay. So when they had my brother in 1961, they had already decided, hey, you know, my father was going to keep coming back to America. And back then, it was easy to get your papers to leave the country to come to America.
Okay.
It was very easy then.
Right.
All you needed to have was the money for the airline ticket.
Okay. Not the current thing where you got to have a certain amount of money.
Yeah, exactly. Now you got to have like $250,000, and you have to have all these things in
And
place.
show
It wasn't that
employment,
way.
yeah.
It wasn't that way.
Okay.
So it was pretty easy to get the papers and to come to this country at that time. And it was on, I think, Pan Am and TWA were the only two airlines that were flying out. So think about it. They don't even exist now, those
Yeah,
two.
exactly.
They don't even exist.
The trivia question.
And by the way, here's something funny, by the way. People wore three-piece suits on the airplane
On the travel, yeah.
when they got on. Think about it.
It was such a big thing.
Yeah. And when one person was going, there was literally 50 people that showed up at the airport just to say goodbye
To that one. Right.
to that one person. And those people dressed up.
Oh, jeez.
It was great.
big
I see
social
these
event.
Old pictures. Yeah, I see these old pictures, and it's a phenomenal event, you know. And I see these, and they're all old black and white pictures.
Right.
Really cool pictures. So my father kept coming back and forth. He made 2 trips. One, he went back, he got married, stayed for a while, and then ended up having my brother,
Right.
and then came back to the country, came back to the U.S., then went one more time, stayed with my mom for a while, and then had me in 1965.
Okay.
Stayed in India because my father's always been an entrepreneur. He started a printing business
In India.
in India.
Okay.
And my mom had become a councilwoman in India. Now, my mother barely finished high school
Okay.
because at that time it was important for the women to start managing the family and staying at home and kind
Right.
of, you know,
Raising
preparing
kids
to go
and-
out. Right. So she wanted to do something with her life too. So she became a councilwoman for the city that was just up the road from the village.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So
A little
my
political
dad,
bent.
yeah. So my dad had a printing shop. My mom was a councilwoman, and my brother and I then moved out of the village to live with them in the city. But it's also common practice for families to send their oldest child away for school, boarding school, and so on. That's what they did with my brother.
Okay.
So my brother went out to boarding school. I stayed at home because I was too young to go to boarding school.
Right.
So when I was born in 65, that had already started, the motion had been set for my brother,
Right.
since
Go-
he was 4 years older, to go off to school when he was in like 3rd grade or so.
Okay.
Okay, think about it, 3rd grade.
Right. And you're gone to boarding school.
Right.
Live
and,
in.
and yeah, you're because everyone's going there, and you know all the families, you know all the kids.
Right.
So at that time, then my father is becoming successful with his printing. He's thinking, you know, I think I want to go to America and really see what's going on so I can do something for my family. So in 1968, 3 years after I'm born, he comes back to the U.S.
Okay.
and he's in New York.
Right.
He's working now as an accountant
Okay.
because he had that job bookkeeping, and you didn't need to be a CPA, a true CPA.
Right.
You just needed experience,
Right. Okay.
apprenticeship and experience. So he got his first job in H&R Block.
Oh, wow.
Remember H&R
Yeah.
Block back then? So H&R Block was big back then.
Right.
Right?
One
And so
of the
he got his
originals.
he got his job being a bookkeeper and CPA for H&R Block.
Wow.
And so come 1970, end of 69 and 70, and he basically sends word, a telegram
Right.
to my mom saying, hey, you should really come to the U.S., but bring Vip with you.
Oh, okay.
But not my brother, because my brother's off in boarding
Brothers
school.
in boarding. Oh, yeah.
You see?
Right.
So my mom and I come in 1970.
Okay.
We come to New Jersey, and we live in Newark, New Jersey. Think about it. We live in Newark, New Jersey.
But
At
that was different at that time.
It was different at the time. Newark, New Jersey was a nice neighborhood. It was literally a nice neighborhood.
Right.
Okay. You had Puerto Rican families, Cuban families, Jewish families.
Right.
Right. and some Indian families. And everyone lived well together.
Yeah.
It was really great.
It was truly a melting pot.
It was truly a melting pot.
Right.
You know?
Okay.
And it was really a lot of fun. Because, you know, and baseball was big because of the Puerto Ricans and the Cubans and all that.
Yeah.
They loved baseball. So I loved baseball.
Right.
Like I grew up loving baseball. You know what I mean? Because that's all I
That's
knew.
a
We used
cool
to pitch
game,
cards
yeah.
on steps. We used to pitch cards on steps all the time. And it was fun, you know? And so my mom, my brother, my dad lived in an apartment in Newark, New Jersey. And that was in 1970.
Right.
And then in 1972, my brother comes to the U.S.
Oh, okay. So
So
didn't see
he
him
comes
for
to
2
New York.
years.
He stayed for 2 years without us,
Okay.
right?
Wow.
Yeah, and we didn't go back and forth during that time. He was there with my uncle and them, but kind of, you know,
Right.
that's just what you did back then.
Right. Yeah.
You left your wife back home. You went, you made a living, you afforded them. Then they came to the U.S., but then someone had to stay behind because you couldn't afford everyone to come.
Right.
It was normal practice. It was sacrifices.
Right.
That's what it was. You know, people understood sacrifices.
Right.
And people made them
Yeah.
willingly, knowing that it's best for the family.
Yeah. That you're not going to probably see this person
Right. Correct.
ever again, or if so, for a
That's
short
exactly
visit.
right.
Or,
Right. That's exactly. It's just what you did.
Right.
Just what you did.
Okay.
And it was understood.
Right.
And so my brother came, and we lived in Newark, New Jersey, and we went to a Catholic school in Newark, New Jersey. So think about it. We were an Indian family, Hindu origin, going to a Catholic school,
Right.
right, in Newark, New Jersey.
1970.
Around Puerto Ricans,
Around
Jews,
Puerto Ricans, Jews, Cubans.
yeah. So it was fun. Oh, and Italians, by the way. Yeah, right.
Yeah, 'cause
Big
the
Italian
Italians
presence,
used
right?
to not be.
And so, you know, that's why the whole racism thing for me doesn't register because we've been around all this our entire lives.
Right.
And to be honest with you, there was no racism in Newark, New Jersey at that time because we were all part of this melting pot. Everyone was just struggling to get it done every day.
Right. Yeah.
But the kids didn't know any better. We just had fun.
Yeah. We just
the kids
played,
were kids.
right? Yeah.
You know what I mean, it was
trying
kind
to
of cool.
fill a team here.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. And it was so much fun. And everyone knew their place, though. So when we went to Catholic school, since we weren't Catholic, we hadn't been baptized or anything, right? It was made very clear that, hey, on Wednesdays, when we have Mass,
Right.
everyone else goes up, and they knew, hey, you know, you and your
Yeah.
brother, you stay.
You don't go up for the Eucharist.
You
yeah.
don't go up, yeah.
Right.
You know, and damn it, man, I wanted that cracker so bad. Like, you know, like, what do you mean? I want that.
Yeah, wait
And
a
then
sec.
finally, so, you know, I remember I had Javier, my buddy. I'm like, hey, get me a cracker. I got the cracker. I'm like, this is what all the fuss is about. It's like bland as hell. It's like, what the hell, man? Like,
It's the worst cracker I've ever had in my life.
yeah, it's like, you guys want some, this is what all the fuss is about, right? And then, of course, the wine wasn't wine, it was like Kool-Aid. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, this is bullshit. Like, what's going on? Right? So that was kind of funny.
I've been feeling like I'm missing out.
Yeah, right. We really thought we were missing out until that happened, right? But, and then we got into Cub Scouts,
Okay.
right? So I was a Cub Scout and then a Weeblo. You remember Weeblos?
Oh, yeah.
I was a
Right in
Weeblo.
between.
And then my brother, since he was older, he went straight into Boy Scouts, right?
Right.
Because I think you were 9 or 10, is it 10 or 11? I can't remember the age when you were into Boy Scouts. Weeblo was in between.
Yeah. Weeblo
Right?
is like a year.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still the same. Yeah. I
Right,
went
right.
through all that too.
Yeah, and so he was a Boy Scout, and we had fun, man. We used to go to the Appalachians, right, for our scouting
Oh,
trips.
for your camping
It was
trips?
right
Yeah.
there. Oh, it was so much fun, man. We had a lot of fun growing up in Newark. It was a lot of fun, but then we moved. So there was all these neighborhoods. So I made a lot of friends there because we would just always ride our bikes and we would walk to school, and so it was and all these people saw you along the way.
Well, that was what
know?
Before you came, we were talking. I was talking with Mo, and we were talking about the difference of kids now, right?
Yeah.
And why are there so many autistic kids? And I was saying, I think part of it is the lack of play.
Totally.
You don't go out and ride your bikes around. You don't go pick up games. You don't have arguments over whether he was
Yeah.
out or safe, right?
Right,
You
right,
know,
right.
like-
Yeah, you don't say that ball was out. No,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So it's my ball. I'm making the rules today. You know what I mean. But okay, so you know another reason why autism exists? A big theory. You guys, I'm going to blow your mind right now. So the mothers, the new mothers. Think about autism. Really came about beyond our years.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't around when I was a kid, right?
Yeah,
No one knew
we
what autism
never
was,
heard,
right?
yeah.
But nowadays, apparently, when moms are breastfeeding, they have their phone in one hand this way, and the baby suckling this way, so there's no eye contact.
Oh.
There's no eye-to-eye contact. When you and I grew up, our mothers didn't have anything, so they looked at us when we were breastfeeding.
Right.
Right?
So
They were
you learn
talking
the
to
eye
us.
Wow.
They were pulling us. They were always talking,
I
communicating.
haven't heard
to
this
us.
theory yet, but
The theory makes sense. It makes so much sense to me when you really think about it. You're like, man, that's really makes sense to me.
it's the original human connection.
It's the human connection, and the kids lost the eye-to-eye contact.
Wow.
So there's a theory that that's the biggest reason why autism exists in this generation more than ever.
Well, and it also, I mean, formula didn't come along till I don't even remember my little brother, who's 6 or 7 years younger than me. I don't remember
Yeah.
ever having formula.
No,
now
that's
we had
exactly
powdered
right.
milk,
We had powdered milk, but that
which
was
was
that was
nasty.
it.
Yeah, it was just
No, in
nasty.
India, man, it was carnation powdered milk.
Yeah, that was
You know
what
what I
we
mean?
had.
Everyone had it. Everyone had it.
On the good times were when we had
Yeah.
enough money for actual milk, but we still had to cut it with.
Well, you also had nursemaids, right? I mean, I'm just telling you, it's like, hey, in India, at least, if you couldn't breastfeed, give it to the aunt.
Oh yeah,
She's
Somebody
still
else-
feeding. You know what I mean?
right.
Give it to her.
Right.
Her breasts still work. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it was
Still
just like
producing milk,
that
yeah.
was no problem.
Right.
No one was like, oh my God, you're going to feed my kid. No, it's like we're doing whatever we can because kid needs to eat.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean, that was it.
I'm not going to the store and buying formula and creating bottles.
Yeah, and by the way, you go to the airports and they have these awesome
Lactation
looking lactation rooms. Yeah, BS, man. We didn't have those either. Like you get on a bus and a mom would just put her little sorry over the kid and just breastfeed the whole time.
Right.
Like, hey, and no, you didn't see men saying, "Oh my God, what's going on there?" That was part of life.
Yeah, it's just yeah.
It's part of life, man. The kid needs to eat. The mom's feeding her. You can not look. It's okay.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? Like if you can't help yourself, something's wrong with you, right?
Right.
It's like it's
You're
okay.
just waiting for that one little
Yeah,
peek.
yeah,
Oh,
totally,
oh,
exactly,
oh.
right. I mean, come on. It's
Feel like you're back
it-
at 12
yeah.
years old. Like maybe I can
so
see
it was
something.
it was like nothing big here, nothing here.
Oh,
Keep
it was
moving
just-
on, keep moving on. Nothing here to see. But yeah, it was the craziest thing. So I think people have lost that sight of just humanity, literally humanity, right? People doing things for the world to just turn.
Right. Well, and we were talking too about now everybody's on their phones or iPads. Kids are watching other kids play games,
Totally.
and they're not using any creativity to create.
Well, we went to dinner Wednesday night.
Right.
How many of us were actually on our phones? And by the way, we all have businesses.
Right.
I didn't have to answer my phone.
I didn't look at it. No, I didn't.
Not once. I noticed that, right? None of us did. There were
Yeah,
five of us.
and the crazy
None of us
part
were
of that
worried about
is
it.
we had over 2 hours of conversation,
Easily.
and
Right?
all of a sudden, the one time I did look at my phone, I was like, "Oh my gosh, we've
Yeah.
been here 2 hours,
Right,
sitting
right.
here talking."
It's not really necessary, and I think the thing is that we've lost that respect of it.
So what is it though, from a medical, as an MD?
Yeah.
Which we'll get into all that craziness of all your different travels and that. But what do you think's happening with it? Is it a dopamine? How are people getting so addicted to phones and technology?
Yeah, it's. I think it's the fear that the body has, the brain has, to missing.
Oh, so it's just a
No,
giant FOMO that
Yeah,
if I don't have
think-
my
I
phone
think
on
we-
all the time.
Yeah, there's something missing because there's something around us all the time.
Right.
Think about it. There is something around us all the time.
Right.
And I mean, look at our lives. Look at our lives, man.
Yeah.
My kids can't go play somewhere without someone sending me a message saying, streaming live now.
Yeah.
Because everyone's afraid of missing their kids' play.
Yeah.
Dude, you know how many Little League games my parents came to when we were in Toms River, New Jersey?
Probably the same as mine.
Right, exactly.
0.
That's exactly right, 0. And you know why? Because my dad was working and my mom couldn't drive.
Right. Yeah.
And I not once did I say, yeah, you know what? My childhood was really messed up because no one came to my Little League games. No, you know what? I couldn't wait to be done with Little League because we got free hot dog and ice cream.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's all I cared about. You know what I mean? That's all I cared about.
Just give me the hot dog.
Yeah. Like we didn't care. Like it didn't matter to us because it was just fun.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, you know what really did matter to us is the fact that we had a home to go to.
Right. Somewhere to go.
Like we can't be thankful
When you
for
were
that.
allowed back inside.
Right.
At least
Yeah,
once
exactly.
I grew up,
And
it's
it
like,
was like she had to call me to come back home.
right, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Go out in the front and yell
I
at
wasn't
you.
already home sitting playing on the iPad. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like,
hey, could you come in this room now? Okay.
Yeah.
And bring your iPad.
yeah, yeah. And we rode our bikes to Little League games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was a mile and a half, 2 miles away the park was, you know what I mean? The ballpark. And it was totally fine.
Yeah.
It was completely fine.
Right.
You know, no one had to track me on Live 360.
Right. Yeah.
No one had to, right?
Yeah, they had no
Because they
idea.
knew that I was going to come home.
Right. We used to take off. A couple friends, we'd take off on our bikes and not come home till dark.
Yes.
And There was no. We didn't
Yeah, yeah.
call and say, "Hey, this is where we're at." Or,
Right,
it
right.
was
So, I think the answer to your question, Tim, is I mean, I'd like to give you a medical response, but I think it's social, man. I think we have honestly, we've advanced so much. Clearly, we've advanced.
Oh, yeah,
But I think we have regressed in our needs from human interaction to artificial interaction. That it's kind of sad.
oh yeah.
You know, I mean, instead of being occupied by your friends or some human being, you would rather be occupied by someone who's giving you fake information.
Right.
And that's a general statement. I'm being so general with it, but it's so true. Like
you
I
don't
look
know.
at some of this stuff on Instagram or whatever, I'm like, you know, if women were really that beautiful, if there were that many beautiful women in this world, there wouldn't be so many single men. But I mean, come on, all those women can't be that beautiful. I mean, it's just I'm a plastic surgeon, man. I don't think that's the case.
There was no genetic change at some point to be
Like-
like, "Oh, we need more."
Yeah, I mean, like, how are they all so perfect? And the truth is that they're not, right? Someone's done some touch up here and there, and they're using photography or something.
Right.
You know, something's being different. And I think a lot of people believe it, Tim.
Oh yeah, and try to keep up with it.
I truly think so. I mean, and we can get into, you know, I think people in my own life, my personal life, have become somewhat addicted to it.
Right.
And I think, why? Why do you believe what this person is telling you when we are right here? The human in front of you that cares the most is right here.
Right. But I think that's this weird. It's misguided happiness, right? From the time the country was founded, pursuit of happiness. But somehow that changed from being content and, you know, and having a house and I'm content with being here to, oh, I have to keep up with these false images,
Yeah, I mean, look,
false narratives.
Yeah, I think my father came here for truly what we call the American dream, right?
Right.
You got an education, you got a house or a job, and your kids and your wife were able to benefit from it, meaning have a better life. Okay, have a better life.
Right. And that's one of the things I was talking to Dr. Wezo about was there's almost still that. I think immigrants have more of that American dream than people born here, especially generations later that we did have it. So there are still the rare entrepreneurs that are like, hey, this still is the land of opportunity. But I think, at least talking to him, you know, immigrating from Mexico, first one to go to college, first one to become a doctor. It's just like, oh my gosh, look what we could do here.
Yeah, yeah.
Couldn't do. So I think they still see the American dream, but I don't know that generational Americans see it.
I think, you know, you're right, but generally, generational Americans have just taken it for granted.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, look, I could tell you, when I was in San Diego, I remember I was at Torrey Pines doing research, DNA research, and I could look out the window and I could see the beach and I could see the Torrey Pines golf course. Do you know how many times I played golf and went down on the beach? Not a single time.
Exactly.
Because it was right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Because it was right there. That's why.
Right. Yeah.
If I was further away, I would have gone to the damn golf course every time, right? Because it's further away.
Had to fly in, make it a big event.
Because every day I think, you know, I'd brag about, hey, look at this, you know, look, I take a picture because we didn't have internet. We didn't have internet
actual
back then,
picture.
Right? I know these guys are thinking, damn, this guy's old. How old is this guy? Like, God damn, he's old. But yeah, you know, but
Hey,
we would like take a picture.
Yeah.
You know,
Go get it developed. Wait for it.
Get it developed.
Wait a week.
Yeah. And then send it or take it when I drove home and say, look at this. This is where I am. You know what I mean? Right? They're like, really? So what's it like? I'm like, I don't know. I don't go there.
Well, I don't know. It's just pretty.
Yeah. It's just pretty. It's really nice. You know, you brag about it, but you never go there. And but that's what I'm talking about. It's like, we just take it for granted.
That's just too close.
It's too close, right? So that's what we do here. Everything is right here. And the internet is always available.
Right.
Wi-Fi is always available. Money is relatively always available.
Right.
And so what do I have to worry about?
Well,
Right.
now you don't have to leave your house.
Right.
Right.
I mean, Instacart, someone introduced me to Instacart.
Yeah.
I'm like, get the hell out of here.
Yeah. He's going to go grocery shopping for it?
Yeah. I'm like, hey, looks like we need this. I'll be right back. They're like, no. I'm going to Instacart it. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You're going to Instacart it? Yeah. You can Instacart alcohol.
Yeah. You don't have to leave. You don't have to leave. Between Instacart, Uber Eats, all the Grubhub, all that, you literally don't have to leave your house.
You don't have to leave your house. And by
Which
the way,
goes back to our social connection or human connection.
but Tim, here's the thing. It's at a cost, though.
Right.
A financial cost, right?
Right.
And a social cost.
Right.
The kids don't understand either one.
Right. Yeah.
Because Instacart has a membership fee, and then you pay a little bit more than what you normally do to get it.
Right.
It's not their money.
No.
Right?
Never
It's not
is.
their money. So let's talk about the social cost. Right. They're forgetting that you're employing a cashier, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if everyone stands in line and they need more cashiers, it's not a bad thing.
Right.
But on the other hand, if one Instacarter has someone who's buying it for him and they're buying for 3 families, they got 3 carts. It's only employing 1 cashier, 1 person. You know, I mean, there's
Right, yeah.
there's a whole economic scale that's
Well, the interactions too, right? Having
Right.
a conversation with the cashier.
right. Counting your change,
Yeah.
getting it
Right.
back. You know, and by the way, that's another thing. You know, I feel like Larry David right now because I got another problem. You know,
And that pisses me off
You know what
too.
that problem is? I'm tired of people asking me a goddamn question every time I go check out. And the question is, give me a fucking tip.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a question.
Yeah, it's
you
not
want a tip.
You want a tip? It's not good. You want to tip me?
Yeah.
No.
No, you didn't do anything.
You didn't do anything.
Right?
Do I have to tip you if I go
Yeah,
do the express cash out myself?
I went to Home Depot to get a screw yesterday, right? 77 cents for a pack of 4.
Right.
I slid $1 in there because apparently there's no humans you can check out at. It's all self-checkout. So I go there and I do the self-checkout and it doesn't want to take my dollar bill. So I look at the lady and she goes, oh, you have to say pay now. Okay. My bad.
Sorry,
Pay now.
I must have missed that in
I
training.
slid the dollar in there, and then it says 23 cents change. Do you want to donate that now? Donate it? Why?
To who?
Why? Why do I want to donate 23 cents now? I want my damn change.
Well, do I get a tax receipt so I can put on my taxes?
Right.
23 cents.
I mean, are you going to give me a tax ID number too so I can do all that paperwork?
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Why? Why do I have to donate?
Round it up.
Right. Oh, no. That's another problem. Rounding up. Dick's. Oh, my God, dude. Dick's. I go to Dick's. They spend $150 on stuff. And would you like to round it up? Round it up?
No, I
Why
want to
don't
round.
you take a hit and decrease
I wanna round
the
it
number?
down.
Why don't you charge me $100 and donate the 50 from you? How about that?
Yeah.
No, you want me to round it up. You know, I just feel like, why? Why? All these questions. All these questions. I just want sporting equipment and I want to go home. You know what I mean?
I don't want.
Like, come on.
I don't want to do tax planning. I don't want
Yeah.
charitable
I didn't come here-
donations.
Now I'm all stressed out because you asked me all these questions. You know what I mean? I'm pissed off at my son for no reason because he took me to Dick's.
It's all your fault.
It's all your
You
fault.
didn't need this damn
Because you're
stuff.
half American. It's all pissed off at you, you know? Why couldn't you just be Indian? All Indian. I'd have no problems. But, you know, it's just all these issues. But I think it's a world we create.
Oh yeah,
We created
we
it,
created it. Yeah, we
right?
created it.
Because change is good.
Right.
We
Well,
keep saying change is good,
Right.
And so I don't know. We just created this whole thing. Speaking of change, by the way, we got off topic, but we were in Newark, New Jersey. Yeah, you see how easily I just got back.
Yeah,
to
that
Newark?
one. Yeah, that was
It
good.
yeah, but I learned that in Newark, by the way. You know, that's the one thing. But I learned is how to have a shtick.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you got to have a shtick. If you're in Newark, there's always something you got to bring to the table.
oh, okay.
You know, like
Oh,
you can't like, you know, if you go play basketball in a neighborhood in Newark at the, like right across the street where we live, there was a park and you can hit the ball or you can play basketball. You come and you play basketball, you got to say why you want to play.
Right.
Like, hey, you know, what,
Yeah.
oh, well, you know why I want to play? Because I got the ball.
Yeah.
How about that?
How about that?
I bought the ball. You know what I mean?
How about it's my
okay,
game?
All right, yeah, all right. He's
you're
good.
good.
Yeah, he's good. He's going to play. Yeah, of course I'm going to play. I got the damn ball. You know what I mean? So you got to bring something to the table, you know?
Right.
But so I was in Newark. My brother and I finished the 4th grade in Newark, which was 1979.
Okay. So when was the
So-
transition down deep in the heart?
So in 1979, we drove, listen to this, we drove from Newark, New Jersey to, are you ready for this? Lubbock, Texas. Damn. I mean, think about it, dude. Think about it. In a white Chevy Impala.
Oh.
White Chevy Impala. The 4 of us. My dad, my mom, my brother, and me, man.
And everything you
drove
could fit in there.
Down south from into Tennessee.
Why,
Tennessee.
why Lubbock, though?
Okay. See, here's the thing. It's, you know, families at that time, like migrant families, they don't go anywhere if there's no other family there.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like you got to have someone you can relate to.
Right, yeah.
Right? And the other thing is you don't stay in a hotel or a motel. You stay at their house. They insist.
Right.
Like you no, you stay at our house. So, you know, like that's what they was. And the reason why we went is because, you know, my brother was 4 years older than me, right? So he was going to start. He was getting
ready for high school then, right?
Well, he was finishing high school.
Oh, okay.
Because it was 79. We
Oh,
were
okay.
79,
All right. Yeah.
79. So he was finishing high school, and he wanted to. Well, my parents, because they're Indians, you know, in an Indian family, you get 3 choices.
Right.
Four career choices: doctor, engineer, lawyer, or death.
Right. So be careful with the first 3.
Yeah, if you don't pick the first 3, the last one is I'm going to whip your ass, and you could die from this whipping. So, right? So,
Okay, so old school motivation.
my brother was unfortunate and didn't choose the first 3.
Oh.
He chose vocational school to be an auto mechanic. And he was pretty talented. I got to tell you, he was pretty talented as an auto mechanic, you know? Like he could fix shit all the time. He was working on stuff and things and fixing stuff. And my dad's like, no, you're not. He's like, so, you know, my mom, see, my mom's like, you know what it is? It's this country. We
Oh,
can't
the
be
country
here.
ruined.
We can't be here. We can't be here in Newark, New Jersey. Look at this. You know, all the Puerto Rican kids are driving around these cars. You know, at that time, Puerto Rican was driving those lowriders and all these like different cars and stuff. And he's like, yeah, you see this? This is the problem.
Oh, this is the
This is
influence.
why. Yeah, this is why he wants to do this. I'm like, it's really not that, I don't think. But you know, what do I know? Yeah, I'm like what, barely 9 because I'm like 10 or 11, something like that. He's 15, 16. Yeah, I mean, I'm not old enough to know like what he wants to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, you know what? We have relatives in Texas. Just Texas. That was it. Just Texas.
Just Texas.
Like, okay, we have.
Well, it's a pretty
so
small state, so they're going to be
turns
close.
out. It turns out. Yeah. It turns out they're in Dallas, Texas.
Oh.
Dallas, right? So we go to Dallas, and the person then informs my dad, "Oh, well, yeah, we wanted you to come to Dallas, but really the place you want to be is Lubbock, Texas." Like, God damn, we drove down to Dallas from New Jersey,
Right.
and now you're sending us up north to the Panhandle of Texas.
Yeah.
And you know, we're too young to question. And we're like, all right, whatever, man. We're having a good time going along for the ride, right? So we get up and go to Lubbock, Texas, and we meet a guy named Dr. Patel, of course. I'm not making the name up, Dr. Patel, who was an OB-GYN. Dr. Patel was an OB-GYN, the only doctor in Lubbock, Texas at the time. Think
Wow.
about it, okay? And so he's like, yeah, you got to come. This is great. You got to come. So we go to Lubbock, Texas. And, you know, when you're a doctor living in Lubbock, Texas, you got a great house, you got everything. So my parents are like, all right, this is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Kind of cool. So we ended up staying in Lubbock, Texas. We got an apartment initially. And my dad went into business with car dealerships.
Huh.
Yeah. And the first dealership he went into business with the name was Frank Brown Pontiac.
Frank Brown.
Chrysler Pontiac.
All
Yeah.
right.
So he ended up being, at that time, he was able to practice law, and he was also a businessman. So he invested and he represented the company, and so he got to know the car business very well. ended up doing well in the car business as an owner, operator, and an attorney.
Right.
So that's how the whole car business started with him.
How was the transition for you, though?
Yeah.
You're an Indian kid.
So that was tough.
Couldn't be a lot of
No.
Indian kids running around Lubbock,
No,
Texas.
so that was tough. That was tough. So basically, the folks in Lubbock. So when we were in Newark, people knew I was Indian,
Right.
right? When I got to Lubbock, people were like,
What is this?
"What are you?" Right?
Never seen
They're
this
like, "Wait a
shade
minute,
before.
yeah, so you're either Indian or you're black. I'm like, I don't know what an Indian is, so I guess I'll be black. You know what I mean? Like, right? I mean,
I didn't know I could qualify.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know, but I'll take black. You know what I mean? So
I'll take black for 200, Alex.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was totally fine. I'm like, all right, this is so that's exactly right. But that's where I discovered like football. I love sports.
Well, now it makes sense though, because they're like, hey, we got to get the black guy on the football.
Yeah, you got to get the black guy. No, right. Like, wait a minute, you're black and you're all playing football? Something's wrong. Right? Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, So it was an obvious transition, but it was, I loved sports in New Jersey. Sports is so big on the East Coast. It really is. It's big.
Right.
Baseball, football, basketball, it's so big. So I started to love sports anyway.
Right.
But, it was fun because I love sports. And when we got to Lubbock, baseball is really not a big sport. Basketball is not a big sport, but football is.
It is huge.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of dropped baseball.
Right.
I dropped basketball. And I'm like, the coach is out there saying, hey, I remember my first junior high coach, Coach Willis, like, hey, what are you? I said, I'm Indian. They're like, well, Jim Thorpe. You know Jim Thorpe? I'm like, who the hell is that?
Yeah.
Jim Thorpe.
Jim Thorpe.
I don't know who Jim Thorpe is. I wasn't old enough to know anything about football, right? He's like, well, there are no Indians playing football. I said, okay. But those guys, I remember, the other black guy on the team was Gary Dotson. I remember Gary so well. He just died not too long ago. But Gary was like, treated me like a brother. He's a black guy.
Right.
I'm like, all right, I'm black. You know what I mean? Right? Gary's my best friend, man. We're having a great time with Gary. So, I basically started playing football, but I knew nothing about how to play football.
Right.
Because my parents didn't help.
Yeah, they didn't have any background.
They didn't have any background. We rode bikes to the school to practice and stuff like that. But it ended up being a lot of fun. I just remember, I put on the pads and stuff like that. I didn't know how to move with the pads on. I didn't know how to do anything.
Right.
All I knew is that I could either run away from people or run towards people.
Right.
One or the other. Yeah. One or the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the
one or
simplest
other.
form.
Yeah. So Coach Willis is, I would get beat up. I'd get on the field. They'd get hit hard and so on. And Coach Willis like, come here. Just see those guys right there? I said, the guy standing right there? Yeah. He goes, just go ahead and hit him. I'm like, just go hit him? Really? Mm-hmm. Like he's just standing there doing nothing. Yeah. Just go hit him? Yeah. I just ran, just took off and just boom, ran into the guy. And he fell because he wasn't expecting it. You know what I mean? It was a cheap shot, right? He's like, feel good, huh? I said, yeah, but he's pissed. It's like, don't worry about that. But you see, it feels good to hit somebody, huh? I said, yeah, well, yeah, he wasn't expecting it, but yeah, it's kind of, But that was my first introduction to really like hitting someone, It was great. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was really a lot of fun. And you know what? He also even told me, he goes, look, the fact that you're willing to do that and you're okay with it, you get up and you want to do it again, you can play football.
Right.
You can play football.
Right.
We can teach you all the other stuff. The fact that you're not afraid to do that is okay. You see?
Oh, yeah.
That's and I didn't understand what he was doing, but it made sense afterwards. It really made sense.
See if you had it in you to
Yeah.
actually.
Are you going to do what I need you to do?
Right.
Like, yeah, of course. I'm Indian. That's all we know is yes.
Yeah.
You can tell me to go rob a damn bank, and I'd probably do it because it's worse than going home and getting beat by my dad. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, whatever you tell me, I'll do.
You didn't do what you're supposed to do.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it was fine, but it was a lot easier. So the game came, and it was easy because all the football players were always close. Right. And in Texas, everybody really treats you really well.
Right.
But again, another example, Tim, of no discrimination, no judgment, nothing by the people around me. clearly a different color and a different culture, they didn't care.
Right.
You know what I mean?
'Cause you could play ball.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's all they cared about.
Right.
Really, that's all they cared about.
Yeah.
You know, so it was another great experience. But my father told me one thing. He says, "Remember, they're not going to be like you. You have to be like them."
Oh. That's
You know what I
a good
mean?
piece of advice,
Which I
yeah.
thought was really cool. And I didn't understand that until I became an adult, what he really meant by that. But it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, wherever we go,
It's up to you to fit into
that's
the,
exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Everyone expects you to kind of conform. Oh, I don't speak English. Go get a translator. I'm like, wait a minute. No. Why don't you learn?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like dude, you think my mom got a translator everywhere we went when I was growing up?
Yeah. No.
No,
Never.
it didn't exist.
Right.
But you know what? She made sure we got our work done.
And
Right?
that you guys
She made sure our work done. She made sure our math was done, our English was done, our history was done. I mean, she made sure because it was simple. Someone told you to do this, and your performance depends on if you do it, so do it.
Right.
She didn't care how we did it. We did it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the only thing she did understand is the difference between an A, B, right? C, D, and an F.
Yeah.
Somehow she didn't speak English, but she understood the difference between those things. You know what I mean? Right? Yeah. You know, so I mean, that was pretty simple. Right?
Better not see any of these.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I don't want to see a C, D, or an F. Like, really? You don't even speak English. You know how hard this stuff is. You know what I mean? Like, right? But it was pretty simple.
Right.
And that changed everything for us, right? So Lubbock was a great experience. My brother ended up going to Texas Tech University, finished with a degree in petroleum engineering.
Oh wow.
So
he
it
did
ended up.
become that
So it
engineer.
ended up
All
being a good move. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, it ended up being a great move.
Right.
And another example of, you know, sometimes parents know what's better for you than what you know.
Right.
It's true,
Yeah.
right? At a certain age, I think parents do know.
Right.
And I think about it, I'm like, man, they weren't wrong. You know,
Yeah.
like he shouldn't have been an auto mechanic.
Right. Yeah.
He could have done more, and he did.
Right.
So he finished with petroleum engineering, and guess where the first job he had?
Love it. Midland.
Nope, Bakersfield, California.
Oh, geez.
Texaco, Bakersfield, California.
Wow.
Think about it.
So there's the transition. Okay.
So there's the transition. You see what I mean? So Newark to Lubbock because of my brother. Think about this. Because of my brother.
Right.
Lubbock to Bakersfield because of
Of
my
your
brother.
Right. So were you out of high school at this time?
So I was just finishing high school.
Okay. And he gets a
Right,
job
because he was
at
4 years
Bakersfield.
4 years ahead of me.
Right.
Back then, by the way, are you ready for this? It only took 4 years to finish college.
What?
Yeah, 4 years.
You got your classes?
I know. Can you believe that? 4 years. 4 years, and you were done with college
With an engineering degree.
with an engineering degree. It actually happens.
I thought that was like Snow White or some other fairy tale.
No, it's a fairy tale. It actually happens.
So it is possible.
It's
you're saying.
possible. It's possible. 4 years. He finished. He got his job, and he came out here. And my parents, just like most families, they're like, well, if he's going over there, why don't we just go over there?
Right.
So guess what? They, after
Packed
a
up
few
and
years, and I got my college career going at Texas Tech as well.
Okay.
They came out here.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Right.
And that's been their next stage of life.
Okay.
You see what I mean? So he worked for Texaco, and then after Texaco, he got to be the contract guy with Chevron because he got his MBA from Pepperdine, and then he started doing contract negotiations for Chevron. And so now he's like the executive vice for doing all the contracts at Chevron and land management and buying all the land. So that's what he does, and he's in London right now. But yeah, that's what he does. For me, I ended up going to Texas Tech where I was able to play football. I played football in high school,
Right.
and the coaches, actually I had some legendary coaches in football, man. I had Spike Dykes, who was, a legendary coach for Friday Night Lights.
Right.
Right. He was my coach in high school.
Wow.
Right. I played against him a few years at Odessa because that's where he was.
Right.
We were in Lubbock, so we played a lot against Midland and Odessa and stuff.
Right.
And he got a chance to watch me play against his teams, and then he ended up being a coach, and then he ended up coaching Texas Tech.
Oh wow.
So I'll tell you another bit of trivia. You know, you guys have eaten at Jake's Tex-Mex in town, right?
Right. Yeah.
So their family, one of the family members, has an uncle who was the linebacker coach at Texas Tech. His name is Dean Slayton. The Slayton family, right?
Yeah.
At Jake's.
Right.
So his name was Dean Slayton.
Huh.
Guess who recruited me to Texas Tech? Dean Slayton.
Dean Slayton. Wow.
Yeah. Small world, man. Small world, right?
Crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So back then, you know, there weren't really any Indians, I think, playing Division I football at Texas in the country.
In the
at that
country,
time.
yeah.
Right. So again, got lucky just, you know, being around the right people and just work and
Right.
So it was good. But I started Texas Tech with a major in zoology and physiology, thinking I was going to go to med school because I wasn't going to be an engineer and I wasn't going to be an attorney.
Right.
I'm like, I guess I got to do the third
Doctor,
option.
yeah.
That is,
Because fourth
yeah,
is out.
yeah,
So.
yeah. I was going to say play football. But I'm like, no, I don't. I'd rather not be dead. So I just, I'll tell them I want to be a doctor, and if I don't make it, I don't make it. You know what I mean? Like,
At least I tried.
yeah, yeah. So I ended up doing zoology and physiology and a minor in chemistry. And yeah, I mean, you know, when you're taking all these classes, man, all those minor degrees become pretty easy. You just show up for the classes, right? You know, so ended up doing that and applied to med school. And originally, I got in to University of California, San Diego, UCSD.
Okay.
And what I did was I thought I was going to be a scientist. This is where, you know, life gets to be crazy. You want to do so many things.
Right.
And you want to be so many things, but you don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had known that I was going to be a plastic surgeon, I would have never done like an MD, PhD and wanted to be a scientist and all that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like who the hell wants to do all that, right? Like I just want to go be a plastic surgeon, operate on naked women.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like that's a good job.
Yeah.
But no, not so much. Right? So it's like, you know, it's like I ended up doing a MD, PhD, you know, wanted to be a medical scientist, doing research on chronic lymphocytic leukemia at Scripps,
Right.
you know, at Scripps Research Institute and just all these crazy things, man. It's like, why do I want to do all this, right?
Yeah. You took
And then
it
I
to another
realized,
level.
yeah, but you know what I ended up doing? I ended up dropping out of med school. Listen to this.
Yeah.
But I didn't tell my mom and dad.
Right. Yeah, because that would.
Because you know what kind of ass beating that would have been?
Yeah, the drop out of med school. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been like, I'm going to shoot your head off kind of ass beating. You know what I mean? So I didn't tell them for a long time. And then they're like, that's weird. Like, why are you home? In Bakersfield? You know what I mean? Like, why are you home right now? I'm like, yeah, I got time off. I'm like, wow, really? You get time off in med school? Yeah.
Yeah, you do when you drop
Yeah.
out.
And then finally I just told them. But here's why I dropped out too. You know, I realized like it just wasn't me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I've known you long enough now that I've had a couple of these instances in my life where, and I'm glad I'm here, I'm telling you, is because, you know, if people know what happened recently in my life, they know why I make the decisions I make.
Right.
And why? Because when I have enough, I have enough.
Right.
Right? So I was at med school at UCSD, and who was in med school? There was a lot of Asian students, a lot of like Chinese, Korean, Japanese students, and Indians and all that. And man, they're really cutthroat. And I'm not a cutthroat guy. If you know me, I'm not a cutthroat guy.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
It's just not my style. You know, I'm like, yeah, whatever, man. You know, let's do this together. It's fine. You know, whatever. I don't care, you know?
Yeah.
But all these students, man, everyone was like, you know, what'd you get on this? What'd you get on this? I'm like, dude, I don't know. Who cares? You know, like, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's like, you want to know? You want to know? You want all the notes? Here, I'll give you everything, you know? But it wasn't that way.
Right.
And it kind of, it left a bad taste in my mouth, and it made me feel sad that, dude, if this is what I have to go through and if these are the people I want to be, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I just don't want to do it.
Jockeying for position.
Yeah.
Fighting to keep
It's
it
like
up.
we're already here. Why are we constantly worrying about who's number one?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because what's the last person in the class?
You still get an MD.
Yeah,
You're still a doctor,
called MD, right?
But you know, Tim, it's that's the problem with life that no one tells you. It's like everyone said, "Oh, be a doctor. It's going to be great," but they don't tell you that you're going to be a doctor and you're going to get in med school, but then you got to compete to be compete to get a good residency. Oh, great! Got a good residency. Now you got to compete to be a plastic surgeon. Like, wait a minute. Why can't I just do it?
Right.
That's what I want to do. Why can't I just do it? Why do I constantly have to compete?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Why are the spots?
That's
down?
what I got tired of.
Yeah.
Because after a while, you just get tired of that shit, man.
Yeah.
You just like, I just want to chill. I want to enjoy life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I totally get it because I was the same way at therapy school.
Yeah.
Once I got in, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
all I have to do is pass,
Right.
right?
Right.
But the other people in the class are always like, oh, who got
Yeah.
the highest score?
Who cares?
Yeah.
Why do you care?
Well,
Why
that was-
can't we just enjoy this?
Right. That was one of the funniest things that happened, though, is that at the end of it, we had to take our comprehensive exams, and kids are crying and stressed out. And then we had to go in, and he had to set up an appointment with the head of the department, and he went over the results.
Yeah.
So I go in and sit down. He's got a bell curve, like here's the scores on the tests, and was supposed to tell you like what you need to do to prepare for the license exam. So he's like, so he shows me it, and I go, it looks like a fairly normal distribution, inverted bell curve. He goes, yeah, except for one. And he moves this paper, and there's this dot way out on the end. He's like, yeah, we're trying to figure this one out because this one's way out of norms.
Yeah.
I was like, man, somebody killed that test. And he's like, yeah, you. And I was like, no way. So I was like, sweet. He goes, yeah, we just can't figure it out because you don't take anything serious. Like
Maybe that's it.
maybe that's the problem. Yeah, like,
Maybe that's it.
I don't care. But I don't think anybody ever figured out because I walked out and there's kids crying because they didn't
Right.
do well on tests.
Right.
They're like, man, did you see somebody killed the tests? And I was like, yeah, who do you think that is? I was like, they guessed everybody else. And nobody ever guessed
Nobody.
me.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Like,
But
yeah.
that's the best, right?
And I didn't have to tell anybody.
Totally. Totally. And that's fun.
Right.
See, that's fun to me because it's fun learning, it's fun living, and it's fun practicing.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I got to tell you, as a man, that's all I want.
Right.
That's all I want. Look, I mean, I went to summer schools in between at Long Beach and BC and stuff, which was great times too, made a lot of friends. Ran into women here and there, had kids, I mean, look, I all those things I get.
Right.
I get. But at the end of the day, what I want to do, I want to live life and have fun.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
But I want to do it and be happy. I really want to appreciate everything around me,
Right.
right? And if we work hard, why not?
Exactly. Why?
I'm not
stress?
asking it to be given to me.
Right.
I'll work for it. But when I get it, I want to enjoy it,
Right.
right? Stay out of my way. Let me enjoy it. Let me have a good time. And let me go to sleep happy.
And I don't
Because
have
I
to take
intend on
pictures
waking
of
up
it.
happy.
I don't have to take pictures of it. And show
That's
it.
exactly right. That's exactly right. I mean, I don't, it's just not necessary. I don't need to post it. You know what I mean? I don't want to post my goddamn meal that I eat because no one needs to know. I'm not going to
I
post
don't think
my.
we took any pictures the other night. And that
No.
food was really good.
Yeah, it was good. Right. You know what I mean?
But
So
we
it's
just
like
enjoyed it.
Yeah, exactly. We enjoyed it because I enjoyed the people I was around.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, it was also bizarre. I think anybody that would have saw that meal would have thought, who are these people? What are they doing? Because we were all sharing each other's
Of
meals.
course.
Like, oh, try this, try that.
Yeah, but isn't that fun?
Oh, yeah.
It's the best thing in the world, right?
Yeah.
It's the best thing in the world.
People passing plates around. I'm sure everybody else in there was like,
Yeah, what are these guys doing? Like, what the hell? They're like, what's the matter? They don't like their food? No, it's quite the opposite.
yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean, you appreciate it, but you appreciate life.
Right.
And I think people have forgotten how to appreciate life.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just second by second.
Right.
I actually think that life is an experience almost episode by episode by episode. You know what I
Right.
mean?
I agree.
This part right here with the three of you, it's an episode, right? I'll never forget it.
Right.
It's a fun episode. They're happy as hell. You and I are having a great time, right?
Exactly.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, who cares?
Right.
And when this is done, I shouldn't have to be worried about, well, gee, do I have a problem waiting outside the door?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I shouldn't.
Yeah. What fires do I have to go put out?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right, right? Why can't I just enjoy the moment every single time?
But that happens like when we have our meetings, right? We have our
That's
YPO
correct.
meetings. You got what should be some of the busiest people
Right.
that take 4 hours out and no houses are burning down,
No.
you walk out of
Nope.
there feeling good, recharged.
Yeah.
haven't spent that much time together with really intelligent people.
Yeah.
And how often do you walk out of that to a disaster?
Yeah. Yeah.
It just doesn't. I think people build it up that something bad's going to happen.
Right. Right.
So you're looking for the bad instead of looking for the good. Like,
I totally agree.
look for those moments in life where you're just like, oh man, so what'd you do this weekend? I freaking went to lunch and then was in the pool for a while and
Yeah.
watched a baseball game. Doesn't sound very productive. It wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't meant to be, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like-
It was meant for me to just not get anything done.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And that's okay.
But I like it. I love
I'm
every
gonna do
minute
it
of it. I think I might do it again sometime. Right? That's exactly right. You know, I think there's nothing wrong with that.
yeah, it should be.
Like, what is wrong with that? There is not a damn thing wrong, and I think people forget that.
Right.
I mean, you know, I've got 4 great kids, ages 27 to 15.
Right.
You know, and my son is, you know, he's doing the summer league basketball right now.
Right.
And he's at Liberty. And my daughter is 16. She's at Liberty. She's volleyball and having a good
killing
time.
it.
Yeah, she's killing it. She's got recruiting trips this summer. She's going to be a junior, so that's going to be fun.
That's awesome.
I know, man. Having athletes, Tim. Well, you know. I mean, you've got a great athlete in your family. I mean, it's so much fun.
Oh.
It's so much fun. And
Well, I think it's fun if you keep it in perspective.
yes, totally,
Right?
totally.
So
yeah.
having it with my kids, it was never about reliving I had
Right,
my time.
yeah,
right?
absolutely, yeah,
I hung up the cleats a long time ago when I figured out, you know, there's not a big call for 5'9", 200-pound
right,
football player in college.
right.
I guess
Right.
I was going to be on the wrong end of that physics equation
Yeah.
at some point, right?
I get it. Yeah.
But with my kids, it was like, hey, my oldest wanted to do water polo and swim.
yeah.
Good. I don't do those things.
No,
but
no.
I don't. It's not about what I want to do.
Right. It's all perspective.
Yeah. My daughter volleyball and ran, and then the little one was baseball and football. It's like, but I didn't. At no point did I say no. You have to.
Yeah. No, I agree. And Tim, you know what? Let's put things in perspective too. Is, you know, you and I both are fortunate that we've been able to have great kids. Mm-hmm. I mean, really great kids, right? And yes, they come from partners that you and I chose.
Right.
But you know, I'll tell you, I'm fortunate that my soon-to-be ex-wife was a good mother to them and raised them, but she was a good athlete.
Right.
And you know, genes get passed on, right? So
yeah.
I mean,
There is something to that.
I mean, something
athlete.
to there,
Yeah.
something to that, right? You know what I mean? So I mean, that does help. That does help a lot. My 2 older girls, you know, they're smart, they're brilliant kids, and very creative, and that comes from somewhere too.
Right.
You know, and I think again, you and I, and for this purpose, I will speak for you, as you and I are men that give credit where credit's due.
Absolutely.
We are fair.
Right.
We are fair human beings, and that's what good men do. They are fair human beings.
Right.
Okay, and the credit goes to the people that really deserve it.
Right.
It takes 2 to raise good kids. Mm-hmm. Okay, but it takes 2 to make them great.
Right.
All right, and at some point they have to be great on their own.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the way it is.
Yeah, I think that's another thing we share is that belief that, because I know we haven't gotten into your business side, but we take that same approach with business as we do with our
Absolutely.
kids, right?
Without a
Look,
doubt.
it's my job to raise this kid up to this point.
Yeah.
I can only give them so much of my knowledge and time. And okay, now it's time for you to go live.
Yeah.
For you to go find your life, not relive mine.
Yeah.
And it's the same with business, right? At some point, it's like, I don't need to be in here seeing patients every day, have a full schedule, because I can work on the business. And I think so few people are willing to let go
Totally.
of their kids or let go of
Yeah.
their business and
Yeah.
let it thrive. And it's this, I equate it the same. I mean, I take more pride in the fact that my kids have done well.
Yeah. Right. I know.
Not
It's
with me micromanaging them.
Right.
And that my business doesn't need me.
Right.
Like that's a great place to be in life.
Oh, it's a phenomenal place to be, right?
Right.
It's phenomenal. It is great, but Tim, you have to let go to let that happen.
Right.
You have to let go to let that happen.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can't do that.
And I think a lot of it is where do you derive your value, right?
Yeah.
Like it would have been easy for you to derive your value as a really good plastic surgeon, a great, phenomenal plastic surgeon, right? But you get into a lot of other reconstructive stuff. I mean, some of the stuff you do, but that could have been where I just want to be known for that.
Yeah.
Instead of, that's a piece of my story. That's not my whole summed up.
Correct.
You can't sum up my life with a degree
You can't.
or
You really can't.
an accomplishment or
No. And as a matter of fact, you know, Tim, since we're getting on that, we can segue into business. But look, everywhere where I've lived, okay, except for when I got married and moved back to Bakersfield, was all because of education. Think about it. I stayed in Lubbock, Texas for school.
right.
I went to Oxford for school. I went to San Diego for school. I went to Philadelphia for school. You know what I mean? I went back to Texas for plastic surgery for school. You know what I mean? So everything is all for a purpose.
Right.
So you can have a family, you can raise a family, you can have a career, you can do everything that you wanted to do. So why not enjoy it? Why not love the life that you tried to create after all those moves, after all that time sacrificed,
Yeah.
right? Like,
And there's nothing wrong with it.
There's
that
nothing
should
wrong
be
with
the
that.
ultimate goal. Right?
totally. That's exactly
Not
right.
to be miserable
Not
or
to be miserable. And yes, we're going to make bad choices, but
Right.
why do we have to relive them in a bad way?
Yeah, we don't, right?
We make mistakes. People make mistakes all the time.
right.
All the time.
Yeah.
But
and-
yet, why do we have to dwell on the mistakes that we make?
Right.
Why can't we just move on and get over it
right.
and be happy?
Because not letting go of it, there's no way to find happiness.
That's right. That's
Right?
exactly right.
If you're hanging on to grudges and grievances and
Right.
hatred, and then
Doesn't get you
You
anywhere.
have zero chance of ever being happy.
That's right.
You gotta
That's exactly-
let
you
it
gotta
go,
get
just
over
like the kids and stuff. Like, all right,
Let it go.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I screwed up.
Yeah. I mean, they should play Frozen again and again, you know, just let it go. Right? I mean, yeah.
It's just on repeat.
Just play again and again. But look, business been
Thanks
great.
for sticking
man.
that in my head.
But listen,
So
you know,
go back
yeah.
to med school though. So
Yeah.
you drop out. How do you go back?
so okay, it's pretty simple to go back, man.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, you know, med school doesn't want any people to actually drop out.
Right. Yeah,
It's
it looks
actually
bad
easy
on
to
their
get
numbers.
successful.
Right?
It looks bad on their numbers. So I just called and said, hey, look, you know, I'd like to get back, but I'd like to go back to University of Pennsylvania. And here's the thing. The reason why I said University of Pennsylvania is the guy who was my instructor or my director for my research project was at Scripps Research Institute, then moved to the Wistar Institute at the University of Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
And so all I needed was a sponsor in the PhD program, and I just transferred over and the University of Pennsylvania.
Okay, cool. So you wrap up there.
Yeah, and then was at University of Pennsylvania.
And then down to Texas for the residency.
And then, well, I came back, and then so when I was at University of Pennsylvania, I applied to figure out how I could end up back in Bakersfield because my parents were here. Everyone was
Okay.
here.
So the end goal was to
End goal was to come back here.
Okay.
So at that time, Ross University had this rotation program at Kern Medical. Brand new program.
Right. Okay.
So I'm like, how do I get there? So I went through Ross, did a 4 months there, and they placed me in rotations at Kern Medical.
Oh, and you're back.
So I did my general surgery residency at Kern Medical
Okay.
for 6 years. So check this out. Count these years. 6 years of general surgery, a year of critical care,
Okay.
3 years of plastic surgery
And
after med school.
that's after med school.
After med school.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're 14,
Yeah.
15
And then I
years now.
ended up in Bakersfield, California because I wanted to.
Okay.
After I finished in San Antonio, Texas, my plastic surgery residency in San Antonio, Texas,
Cool.
and then came back to Bakersfield, California.
So, but how did your evolution go after that? Because just knowing you, was that the goal all along, to actually move up more into management development?
Yeah. It's interesting, you know, when I came back to Bakersfield, there were really no plastic surgeons that wanted to do everything. Everyone felt comfortable doing their little niche, you know, like I only want to do cosmetic surgery,
Right.
and I only want to do facelifts, and I only want to do this. The problem is that everyone was in their 60s and 70s. There was no one in their 30s like me,
Right.
or late 30s like me.
Right.
Okay. So I said, all right, here's what I'm going to do. This is when what you said really mattered.
Right.
It was Memorial Hospital at the time, and Ken Keller was working there.
Right.
And Ken said, hey, we need a wound care center in Bakersfield, California, but we need like someone who really knows how to do this stuff, and it would be a plastic surgeon, we think. I'm like, yeah, what do you need? They're like, if you're willing to run this for us, we can pay off your loans.
Well, you got my attention now. Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, let me see how this works here. Yeah. So I'm like, all right. And I didn't have that many loans. It was all like, it wasn't really educational loans. It was loans for like training and stuff, but it wasn't really educational. So they're like, we'll pay off all your loans if you'll work here. I'm like, yeah, of course. But don't forget, I was making money while they were paying back my loans.
Right.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But I also realized, as I got in close with the hospital, I realized healthcare is really it's a fucked up system.
Yeah. For sure.
So I realized okay, because it's not really a great system, physicians are going to have to be in charge of managing it or control of their own destiny.
Right.
And I saw that early. So what I did was I started looking at how offices were being run, and it was really inefficient. Mm-hmm. So I just started making manuals and started keeping records of how we were doing things and how I could change little things and nuances and make like $10 more here, $100 more here, $1,000 more here.
Right.
And it was all a matter of timing.
Okay.
Like how much time we spent with patients, how much time we spent in the operating room, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Okay. So just efficiency.
Efficiencies. But here's the other thing, is carve out contracts. Carve out contracts, very few people did them on the surgical side.
Right.
For high-end surgeries,
Right.
like, for example, reconstructing things. Mm-hmm. You see what I mean?
Right.
So I'd say, look, I can rebuild faces, I can rebuild burns, I can put on arms, I can put on fingers and all that stuff, but you got to pay me this much.
Right.
Yeah.
Or keep your fingers.
Right. Right. They're like, wait a minute, what? You're going to do what? I said, yeah. Otherwise, I'm not going to do it. They're like, you're really not? No. Why?
Right.
You can send them somewhere else.
Right.
But you want to keep them here, I'll do it. You got to pay me this much.
Right.
So just to give you guys an idea, they would pay, if I didn't have an agreement or carve out, they'd pay like $2,000.
Right. That would be the total reimbursement.
That'd be the total.
Right.
I'm like,
No.
what?
Yeah. For this many hours.
Yeah, I know. I was like, homie, don't play that. You know what I mean? Like, that's not gonna work. So I'm like, all right, I'll tell you what. For certain things, like I broke it up into body parts, right?
Right.
So like for breast, if you wanted to make a new breast out of a different body part, you're going to pay me $20,000.
Right.
They're like, okay. You want to put a finger back on? Oh, that's going to be 30.
Right.
Because that's a finger.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's what that's what they
Reattach
did.
arm,
So
it's gonna be 50.
So basically, and I had the Central Valley tied up. So basically, south of San Francisco, north of Los Angeles, west of Las Vegas, and east of Santa Barbara was me.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I tied it up for 10 years.
Right.
Right. So I'm like, that's it. I'm good.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how it started.
Okay. And then it got into, but you were creating the efficiencies, so then you can step in.
That's right.
Take over another
Right.
practice.
That's exactly right.
They can still work.
And they could still work. And we had 3 models then.
Right.
But we negotiated contracts for them too. The first model was you just hire us and we just run your practice. And that's a fee every month.
Right.
The second is we buy you out, you stay on as an employee, and we take over all the expenses. And the third one was shared.
Oh, okay.
So basically, we buy you, you keep this, and this, but we run everything. So it was a three model. The most successful model was the one where we just bought everyone out and they just stay on as an employee. Right. Why? Because they love getting a check every 2 weeks.
Right.
You see
Yeah, it
what I
takes
mean?
the guesswork out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So they really love that.
Back to the screwed up system of
Right.
providing a service, submitting a bill, and maybe getting paid
Right.
30, 60, 90
Right.
days later.
Correct. So it was a lot easier for them. And then we worried about the collection part
Right,
at the end.
yeah, then it's
See what
on
I mean?
you.
So it was a lot better.
But
That's how we did it.
Right.
So that morphed into the private equity group I have now.
Right.
And now what we do is we buy a lot of practices. We buy family practice. We buy cardiology. We buy some specialty surgery, not that many, but we do a lot of the primary care stuff.
Right. And I'm building up that new.
Yes.
Right.
Correct. And I have that IPA, so the IPA really feeds into all that.
Right. Yeah. I know we're still working on that, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. So
Which was an old Mastercare network. You remember Mastercare?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I bought the old Mastercare network
Oh, okay. So
and
you,
renamed it
right. So you didn't
and
have
got
to.
new contracts.
Right. So you didn't have to reinvent the wheel.
Correct.
It's already,
Right.
but with some tweaks, I
Yeah,
can
I
make
ain't
it.
that smart, man. I mean, I'm that guy that would have invented a square wheel and said, make it work.
It works. It's just a
Yeah. So what? It doesn't go around. Make it work. Stop bitching. Make it work.
It's like, dude, this isn't working. Yeah, it works fine.
It's fine.
So then, what's the future? Like, where
Yeah.
do you see? Because now I know life's transitioning again. It's another evolution, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm a single man.
Right.
And it's weird for me to say that because I'm a single man, but I have so much.
Right.
Is that weird to say? I mean, it's like I have so much. I have great friends. I mean, really great friends. I have a great family. And look, I say that because even as a single man, people are like, oh, well, your family. No, I still have a family. Mm-hmm. I do. I still have a family.
Yeah, they didn't go anywhere.
They didn't go anywhere. The dynamics are different, but I still got a family, and I think the future is to make the most of every day for me, because I love it. I spend time with the kids, watching them play,
Right.
finishing their high school careers, and then really what I'm trying to do is figure out. Look, I'm not worried about the career part anymore. Although recruiting is a big problem. Recruiting to Bakersfield is a big problem. Getting
Nightmare.
professional folks to come here is a big problem. You can offer them a lot of money. Sometimes it's not it. It's not just about money. So I realized I have to pick and choose my battles, right?
Right.
So I'm gonna focus on just buying more practices in and around outside of Bakersfield, which include Nevada, Arizona, Texas, other places where we can manage all that. And then what we'll do is, which is just the acquisition. I'm not going to worry about doing the daily practice, Tim, because I realize if I do that, I will go nowhere.
Right.
I mean, that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. Then focusing on the kids transitioning into college, which is 2 years for Aaliyah, 3 years for Krish.
Right.
And then I want to just basically travel and see them play.
Right.
It sounds crazy, but I really do. It's like a great pastime,
No, but
it's just
but that comes with having the time to do it.
right.
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 So I think we've both done that where we've set up our lives where we do have the freedom and flexibility to
Yes.
say, okay, yeah, I'm jumping. Oh, yeah, I'll be there.
Right. Right. And Tim, oddly enough, I've realized I don't need much. Right. So I'm okay having just what I need as long as I can get away every weekend to watch the kids play. I'm fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not always
kind
the
of
bigger
a
house, the
yeah.
nicer car.
It's I don't need. It's contrary to what I used to think when I was 30-something years old.
Right. Yeah, I think
know what I
that's a
mean?
weird transition, right? Because I remember starting the company 26 years ago and being like, oh, well, if I can do this and this and this, then I can get a bigger house and I can
Yeah.
I want a nicer car and I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now you look back and it's like, all right, I did build it. But now, to your point earlier, I want to enjoy it. I want to enjoy
Yeah.
life. I don't
Right.
want
So
to.
true.
Like, well, why don't you run your own company? Because one, I'm not good at it.
I'm not good at it.
And
right.
two, I don't want to be tied down like that.
Right.
At doing something I'm not good at.
Right. That's
I would
exactly
rather
right.
be able to hey, I found somebody who's amazing at the numbers.
Right.
Good, you run it,
You run it.
and just
He's passionate about
check
it.
in. Yeah, he loves
Right.
that.
Right. That's exactly
Then
right.
I can do what I like to do and create and
And that's okay.
just have that. I think that's one of the misnomers, right? When people talk about, oh, you work on your business, not in your business. But I don't think you understand it until you separate enough to be able to work on it. You got to get out of the weeds. You got to not have a full schedule, not have.
Agree. I totally agree. Tim, this isn't a side comment, but it just came to me is, what I noticed about you and recently about me is to find someone that you can say things to and not worry about the repercussions.
Right.
And I see that, see you having that because, for you to have someone who's close to you and you to be able to just say, you know what, this is what happened and this is what I think of it, then to say, oh, well, what's wrong with you?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
That's the last thing you want to hear.
Yeah.
You want to be able to say, yeah, I said that and he or she is okay with what I just said.
Right. Yeah. And
Sometimes you don't need input. You just need to be saying.
Weird how few of those people exist.
I know. It is so true, man.
Just talk about a unicorn, right? It's like
I know.
Like to find somebody that, well, one is 100% authentic, and I know you are 100%. You're the same guy, whether you're in the office, doing a procedure, or somewhere out, or at your kids' games, right? But life is so much easier when you're authentic. I don't have to remember, in this situation, I'm supposed to be...
Right.
Oh, crap. Okay.
It's so true, yeah. Gee,
I'm supposed to be a physical therapist right now, so I have to act differently.
You can't. You just can't do it. It wears you out, Tim. Right. It wears you out because something will give.
Right. Yeah, it has to.
Something will give.
Or you slip up and, oh, shoot.
Yeah, it's like, wait a minute, I don't
Okay, here I can't talk about this or this or this. Or
never stops.
Yeah.
I
then
agree.
You got to try to remember, it's good.
Just can't do it.
If you like me, great. If not, all right.
Right.
That's fine.
Right.
Turn the channel.
That's right.
Go find somebody you do like to hang out with. I'm not offended.
You
no one invite me over for barbecue.
That's right. That's okay. Good. Yeah, it's
I got a barbecue myself. I'll just barbecue myself.
Right. Yeah, it's not that hard.
Is anybody coming over? No. I'm just gonna.
Right.
I'm gonna barbecue and jump in the pool and.
Well, I think the more we realize that we don't have to depend on people's reactions, the better it is. But that's what people need now, though. With social media, people depend on reactions.
So you brought up an interesting, like talking about when we were in our 30s. Well, I know Papa Mo over here is just entering into the got the kid, right? Yeah. So he was looking like. So, what advice would you give to yourself at 30 or to Mo right now? Like, hey, you're just starting in. You have your first kid. You're trying to build a career, a business.
All right. So you know what? I'll keep it simple. All right.
It's probably a good thing too, because I don't know.
All right, here you go. Get ready. Don't sweat the small stuff.
Amen, brother.
Don't sweat the small stuff, man. The small stuff, I did it. I made the mistake. I'm sure Tim did. Yeah. My father every morning used to tell me something, but the one thing he told me that still sticks with me now is he's lower your expectations or have none, and you're going to be better. Mm-hmm. The minute you start expecting something from whoever you're with, you will be disappointed. It's going to piss you off. You're going to start acting differently. You're going to start lowering your expectations of yourself. You're going to start doing all these things. Right. So don't sweat the small stuff and don't keep high expectations of anything or anybody. You're going to be better. Yeah. You're going to be better off.
Yeah, I think expectations just lead to upset, right?
It's only going to piss you off. That's right. Because people will let you down.
Yeah. That is the 100%. That is actual
people
truth. Right
will
now.
let you down. So you might as well just get used to it and don't worry about it, man. I'm serious, man.
No, it's true.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, man. I mean, your name is Muhammad, dude. Muhammad comes from a great book. You know what I mean?
Right.
And Muhammad had no expectations of anybody.
Right.
I'm just telling you, man. Right. It's true.
Yeah.
The earlier you do that, the better you'll be. You won't be one of us talking about the shit you could have done differently when you were 30.
What we find kind of interesting, I'm gonna just tap in real quick, is that David and I are like, you guys are looking back at 30.
Yeah.
And I think because we live in such a social media era, the perspective of 30 has changed.
Yeah.
Like you didn't even get your career, you didn't finish school until you were in
late 30s, man. Late 30s. Think about it.
But if you're on social media, 30s is like, oh, you're already 1 foot in the ground.
You're already done, right? You're already done. You're done. Well, that's my point. If you're on social media now trying to show people where you're at, you're late. Right? Because you should already know where you're at. Think about it. Like, why are you worried about where you're at?
Yeah.
Think about it. Right? That's how I think. I mean, when I was training in the 30s, I was a surgeon. Or I was training and I was a surgeon already and I was training. if I had to be worried about where I was at, I would have never finished. Right? Because I'd be worried about the guy who's in his 40s who's got a big ass house, driving nice cars, and dressing well. You see what I'm saying? Right? So at some point, you got to just stop. You know what I mean? You got to stop. But we could talk about this to whenever, and people would say, God, that's so amazing. But they're doing it anyway. Right? Because the 20-year-olds are trying to think that they can be like the guy who's going to tell them, I got $750 and I made $1 million. Now, you know that's not true.
Exactly.
Right? You know that's not true because his father helped him.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It just got to stop.
Well, yeah.
Like it doesn't happen. You know, the real estate game doesn't really exist. You know what I mean? Like people are like, I invested $1,000 and I got 10 houses now.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you didn't.
Yeah, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
Unless you got a printing press in
Right,
that
right.
one house.
No, it really happened. Look, it really happened. I'm like, no, come on, that's not what happened.
If I must say one more thing, how do you feel with you being a cosmetic surgeon?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Because I can argue, that you kind of created kind of a beast within that. That
We
industry
did.
has created a beast that
Yeah.
I don't think we can ever put back in the jar.
That's right.
What's your take on?
Yeah.
Let's say now like I said, your kids are in high school. Obviously, it's only knee-jerk reaction to look at that and be like, you know what, I'm going to take that industry as well.
Yeah.
What's your take on it if they say
Yeah,
they do that?
that's a great question. So let me tell you, when I finished from San Antonio, I could have gone to New York City, Chicago, Miami, Beverly Hills, Newport Beach, or San Francisco.
Well, you
And I
picked well
chose
in Bakersfield.
I chose Bakersfield. You know why? I didn't want to compete with anybody. Right? I just didn't want to compete with anybody. Why?
Yeah.
Why do I have to go out and show people that I'm better than them? Right? That's one. The second is what you're talking about is truly the cause from my profession. Okay? But I'm not on social media and I don't advertise because I'm in Bakersfield, California. See what I mean? I don't have to. Right? If I was in Beverly Hills, I would. I'd have to have
Spend
some of my
millions.
patients spend time on social media and tell them, hey, this is the greatest guy ever. Right. You see what I mean? Right? I mean, it's true.
Right.
But I don't have to. But that's what I chose to do. So I have to be happy with it. You see what I mean? I can't say, geez, look at that guy. Man, I wish I was that guy. Well, I don't care what he does. It has no bearing on me.
Right, but part of that too is where do you want to raise your kids? Would
Right.
you have wanted to raise your kids
No.
in the Beverly Hills environment?
No, because you know what? I mean, first of all, there ain't that many good Jewish quarterbacks out of Beverly Hills. But there's a hell of a lot of them out of Bakersfield, California.
Well, maybe team owners. But
You know what I mean? Right? So I'm just telling you, it's like, I wanted my kids to be raised in an environment where they were going to see regular people. You know what I mean? Even though I was a plastic surgeon, my wife at the time, she was a stay-at-home mom, a good lady who wanted to raise the kids in a good home.
Right.
And that's all we wanted.
but you could afford it.
And we could afford it. You know what I mean? I didn't have to worry about, I got to do all this work because I got to pay my house. I got to drive my car. I got to do all these stuff. No, it was fine.
Got my
Right.
$6 million house. and my
Right. But more
300
importantly, I wanted to be here because I wanted to have friends like this. And that's what it was about. And that's what I got. You know what I mean? That's what I got. So I did fine. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Oh, yeah.
But I think I got lucky and did fine by making those decisions. Did I really know what I was doing? I don't think so. I did it because that was in my gut. That's all I knew. Okay? I wasn't going to be someone who I wasn't. All right? I didn't want to dress in suits every day. I wasn't
How
going to do
much
that.
different it would have been had you stayed in Dallas versus going to Lubbock and seeing a smaller town environment?
It would have been so different. Because Dallas is Dallas.
Right. It's huge.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything's big
Everything's
in Texas.
big. Yeah, that's
everybody.
really
Yeah,
pretty
and
much
that's
Dallas,
what
yeah.
they wanted. You know what I mean?
Right.
Dallas is Dallas.
Right. So it does change.
It does.
And-
It changes. Your environment changes you.
Right.
And that's, to me, that's what matters.
Right.
I mean, it's all about who you're around.
And one last, I just wanted to ask
No.
one more. I got to fire one more.
No, it's good.
You having, how many daughters do you have?
3 daughters,
3 daughters,
1 son.
1 son. But you're in plastic surgery. How do you teach her confidence? Because you're in the industry that
Yeah.
one would say that
Yeah.
maybe they're not as
Yeah.
strong mind as you.
Yeah.
Teaching delayed gratification.
No, that's simple, man.
That you learn.
Yeah, listen, as a, and I have to say this, right? As a male father, because now there's all different kinds of fathers, right? But as a male father,
Biological male father.
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, as a biological middle-aged male father, true
From India.
from a true male,
From a male.
yeah, who was a male, has always been a male, and will continue to be a male, non-hormonal, and emotionally sound.
From Indian descent.
Yes, of Indian descent. Yes, and also referred to as.
It's much easier to say them.
I think, you know, there's a couple things I do even with. Okay, so I'll take my 16-year-old daughter. You know, I still call her Aaliyah or Babe. I still look at her and I touch her and I stroke her hair and say you're beautiful, and I talk to her calmly. Almost always. I think that's all it takes, man. You know, I think we overthink it by saying, you know, what do I do? How do I treat you? I treat her like a girl. I treat her like my little girl. You know what I mean? And I think that's all it really takes. And that confidence comes from the fact that I respect her presence. And I think that's all. That's it, man. You know, but I'm not afraid to tell her, hey, you know, sweetheart, if you have a boyfriend, you have a man, you know, just treat them with respect. You don't need to show them up, because that's not what it's about. You know, you do have to be soft. It's okay to be soft, a girl, and be soft. You don't have to act like you're a tough guy and a tough man, because you're not. You're a girl, and it's okay to be a girl. And by the way, you know, she's a pretty good athlete, so that stands on its own. You see what I mean? Just let all that do the talking, and it's okay.
Right.
I think that's the problem, is that the kids don't get the confidence from that. So they feel like they need the confidence from some other stranger or something that doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that that's the problem. It's a great question, but I think the answer is a lot easier than it really is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think once they know their value, I think that's where a father's love comes in, right?
Yeah.
That you honor them and you value them, and you show them that by example, that you don't have to be the loudest person in the room.
No.
You don't have to
Yeah.
put on false pretense. Well, it goes back to our conversation about being authentic, right? If my kids know, hey, this is that. Now, I will say that there was a time when I was married that I did put away parts of who I was
Of course. Right.
to try to navigate the system. But now my kids get to see all of me. Like, this is just who I am.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. One of these team owners, the owners of the Nationals. I'm on this congressional board, and the owner of the Nationals is on there. He's just a super nice guy. He's telling me, he goes, "Hey, how do you have control in the OR? Like, how do you really know things are going on?" I said, "You know, I don't." He goes, "What in the operating room?"
Yeah.
Like, you don't. You just show up. You just show up. That's how you know you have control.
Right. Yeah,
You don't
you're
have to
present.
be a bitch about it. You don't have to be a jerk about it. You
Throwing
don't have
stuff,
to,
yelling,
You don't have to
screaming.
tell people, "Damn it, I'm here. Let's go." You just need to show up. When you show up, people know, all right, he's here. It's time to get busy.
But you did
You know what I
notice
mean?
how he just slid right past that congressional committee thing?
Yeah, you know,
So,
Forget about that Washington. Yeah.
but you know, I mean, it's just one of those things, man. It's just that's all people want. People want a presence from someone that is going to assume control without telling them.
Right.
Without telling them. That's the guy that has control. You know what I mean? The guy who's always talking to people like, "Oh, look at this shit. Look at where I am." And like, he doesn't have control. That guy doesn't have control.
Yeah.
But the guy who has control is the guy that speaks the least.
Right.
Almost always the case.
And has the presence.
That's
just-
exactly right.
Yeah, I think when
That's
I
the
was
way
talking
it
to
works. That's the way it works.
Craig Harrison, and he was talking about people's vibrations they give off,
Yeah,
right?
right.
There's just people that have that
Yeah.
calm confidence.
Yep. That's it.
and you don't have to be.
Yeah.
My
There's
oldest
no-
son, actually, speaking of life lessons, was like, we were somewhere, we're on a trip somewhere, and we were walking through something, and somebody asked, "Is this the right way?" And he goes, "I don't know. I just learned from Dad that you just walk with confidence, and somehow
Right.
it works out." And
Right.
it's like, and I would start watching him,
Yeah.
and he just
Yeah.
walks into a place, doesn't need to be loud or anything, just.
Yeah, I mean, you know, do people really think that I know every single surgery that I do and know what's going on? Hell no. Of course not. No, it's true.
Right.
It's so true.
That's why they call it the practice of medicine.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, it's just you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
You don't know, but you got it. But you better damn know how to fix it. Right? I mean, it's true.
It's true.
It's so true, man.
Whoops, that wasn't
better-
supposed to happen.
You know, people bleed. People bleed all the time.
Right.
But you know, if you're the one that says, "Oh my God, blood! What am I going to do now?" You look around, people are like, "But I don't know what the hell to do." You're the guy in charge. Right?
Exactly.
I mean, seriously,
Yeah, if you
they're
lose
very
it-
quick.
Oh, yeah.
They're very quick to tell you when shit goes wrong. You're the guy in charge,
Right. Yeah.
right? Think about it. Think about it. So guess what? Just go in there, be cool, and know that you're in charge. If that's the case,
Just,
that's the case. That's
I
exactly
need
right.
this. I don't need
Yeah.
to freak out.
Yep.
This is what I need.
Give me this. Give me this. Give me
It
this.
is
But
weird.
don't
'cause
stop. Just
you'll
keep
notice
going.
that in, like in a, because therapy we don't do it that much, but having been trained as an athletic trainer first.
Yeah.
Like when an emergency happens, somebody collapses.
Yeah.
The number of people that are all
Yeah.
trained panic. And it's like, all right, just relax.
Right.
Let me.
That's exactly right.
Everybody quiet down a little bit.
Yeah.
Figure out what's going on.
Right.
Oh, no, you want to hang on? Okay, yeah, get the AED.
Yeah. Get the,
Go ahead
this
and
this
fire
that.
up
That's
911.
exactly right. Right.
And I've got it under control until they
Yeah.
get here.
Yeah.
But it's just a bizarre when something does happen.
Yeah.
I mean, and you see it even in medicine. You think everybody's trained, right? But there's just something about that confidence level of
That's right. That's
Hey,
that.
stay calm.
That's the difference between competence and unsure of abilities.
right.
That's a big difference between the two, and that's why I tell you, as a young man, just you don't have to be cocky, but you need to be confident.
Mm-hmm.
And confident people don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
You know, just
Just
not.
will
It's not
adjust.
necessary.
I can adjust. It's not, a
It's
big
not
deal.
necessary. Yeah, I mean, you know, as a man, the only thing I tell you is that that's probably your wife's job is to sweat the small stuff. Until
And they will.
she asks her mom or someone she knows, hey, what should I do? And they'll probably tell her, don't worry about the small things.
That's usually like that deathbed thing. Like, what would you do different? Don't sweat the small
Yeah,
stuff. Just
exactly
let
right.
it go.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
it's
perfect.
true.
Well, awesome, man. Appreciate your time as
It
always.
was great. That was a great time. Thank you.
We'd love hanging out. So
Yeah.